Hey everyone, you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and I'm your host, Andrew Davis. And before we really get into my interview with my guest, I do want to remind people you need to support and financially support what you like, whether it is this show, my guests, wrestling promotions, or corporate media, because without your money, the things you love do not get made or they do not go further. And so it is very important to support what you love economically. But enough about that, because I do not want to turn this into a pity party, because I have with me for, I think, the third time now, professional wrestler Billie Starkz, who is the future. I'm just going to say it. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again, and I'm sorry to everybody who has to hear my screechy voice right now.
Hey, they're going to tolerate. They're going to tolerate it because you are the future, and there's a bunch of matches I want to see, but this is not about me. It's about you. Um, but you've had an amazing year so far in wrestling, and I think you had an amazing year last year and the year before that. But we're really only going to be talking about 20 wrestlers that you faced in the entire year. And there's some pretty intense rivalries that have occurred. And I think one of the ones that's deep is you and Alley Catch in a lot of ways, because the two of you have been going at it, I think, for about 2.5 years, give or take.
Mhm.
And a lot of stuff in GCW. I know Effie was involved, the dastardly Effie. Just he's always Effieing around, if I will. I get one of those. I get one of those. But
Mhm.
what has that been like? Because obviously, I mean, you've had a massive rivalry across so many different matches with her in GCW. I think facing Bussy, as well as with Sandra Moon, facing Second Gear Crew. And I could just keep on listing it. I know Marcus Mathers, who was a prodigy, just like you are, in a lot of ways, for the GCW Tag Team title. So, what has this been like? Because this has been a long time being built, I guess, is the right way how to say it.
I feel like it's because me and Allie have something special, and we come from the same background. But having this competition with her, and it's always something this, something that, and it's going in and out, in and out, in and out. I think this rivalry, I'm sorry, my words are so bad sometimes. Rivalry um, has made me grown as a wrestler, but I think I keep pushing Allie to her limits. And I want the day where I can just easily get her, and I'm like, okay, this is the day I know I'm better.
Yeah, because what has this been like? Because obviously, I mean, Alley Catch has been wrestling for a while, and Alley Catch went through a period where, and I'm going to say something that might get us into a little bit of trouble, where I don't think she was being taken seriously on the wrestling scene, and then she evolved into a much fiercer competitor, and even that when you're facing her, because now I think you're facing her in her best form, if that makes any sense. And I think this rivalry in the last 2 years has really done that. And it's almost like iron is sharpening iron in a certain way. And so, what is this like? Because every time I watch the two of you go at it, I'm not bored. And I feel like, because we both know in wrestling that we've seen people face each other and the match just gets boring after a while, especially when it's
Mhm.
the 100th time somebody's faced each other. But with the two of you, it's not really boring. And I feel like there's so much territory to still explore what could be done in I guess the ring, for lack of a better word. So what is
Mhm.
that like? Because it's really interesting to watch.
I feel like it's a perfect, like what you describe. It's us constantly evolving, so it changes the style of our matches because we're both changing as people so much and as wrestlers. Um, like when Ali made her revolution to Alley Catch from Alley Cat, it grew her to a different level. And then when I made my revolution from Billy with all blue hair to, okay, guys, I'm starting to grow up and you're going to have to realize this, to my different phase of wrestling. And I feel like we both keep making these changes just to get better and better. And I love the growth that we've made through wrestling, but it's also like who's going to beat who. I love Allie, and I feel like she's one of those people I can wrestle against every single day.
Yeah, no, I think that she's great. Obviously, I think you're fantastic. And then even talking about another rivalry that hasn't been as intense, but I'm sure there's plenty of stories with Effie too. And I love Effie as well very much because I caught Effie a while back before he really became big. And so I think you faced Effie obviously in GCW. Effie's on a lot of GCW shows. And then in BLP, Black Label Pro. And that was a pretty crazy, match in a lot of ways. And I heard that Effie likes roller coasters at certain malls.
Yes, yes. I love Effie. I feel like he's one of those people I've grown so much with in the ring. He helped me with storytelling as a heel. Um, and him experiencing me as my bratty self when I'm tired of everybody saying smile, smile, smile at Black Label. So I'm like, oh, everybody wants me to smile. I'll give you guys something to smile about. And Effie really helped me evolve that character of me being my brat at Black Label. And I don't get it to do it very much other places, but I have fun when I get that experience. And Effie was one of those people who I feel like gets character so much that I'm like, oh, I get your brain.
Yeah, because I was speaking with Tyree Taylor about this, and Tyree said something very interesting. He said that Effie is ahead of his time, where Effie is going to be looked back, I think, in about 5 years, where Effie is ahead of his time, and he might not get credit for what he's ushering in, but Effie really understands wrestling. And more so than anything else, I think he understands character. I think he understands how to sell it. And so, what is that like for you? Because obviously, you're young in wrestling, and to be around somebody like Effie, and then there's a few others to really give you guidance and say, hey, look, I've kind of been here and that I am, really good at this. And I've built a character or persona and I've understood the business, because not everybody has that. And not everybody gets that
Mhm.
in wrestling training. And also, not everybody has this thing called wisdom. And I think that is something that is very interesting about you in particular, is that you are extremely young in wrestling and you have a lot more wisdom than I think most people who are 25, 26 in wrestling have right now. And I think that says a lot about the idea of shut up, listen, and also actually wanting to be a student of the game.
I completely agree. Um, I feel like I've learned so much so quickly because I was always very quiet, but I was always listening to everybody and what they're saying. And I'm watching, okay, who's doing good at what, and let me see what I like and enjoy from these people and let me listen to what they're saying so I can steal their little tips. And Effie, I always thought had great merchandise. He's so good at branding himself. And I immediately would just go and listen to him talk about merch. And I'd be like, oh, what about this? How do you do this? How do you do this? And he was one of those people who he would just share. And that's honestly why I got so many great merch ideas now, is because Effie has broken my little brain to be, oh, this is how you make money with doing this, this, and this. Oh, if you come up with ideas, this will go back here. And I'm like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah, isn't that interesting that when you actually start shutting up and you actually start listening to people and you even ask, a lot of people share a lot of knowledge with people and they're happy to do it. And I just in my personal life, I was having a conversation with somebody who I don't want to say, so I don't know if I can, but we wound up having a 4-hour business discussion about how to deal with my podcast and manage it. And he was giving me a lot of ideas. And then obviously we were just having a private conversation, but he was happy to share knowledge with me because he's like, hey, I want you to succeed and I'm also successful. And so it's very interesting that also people are terrified to ask for certain things. And
Hmm.
so what is that like? Because whether you asked or not, it was still given to you and people
Hmm.
sort of want you to succeed and be successful. And what is that like? That's a lot of faith, I feel, because not every wrestler's like that either. I know plenty of
Yeah.
wrestlers who are selfish in so many ways, and I hate to disparage the
I
entire community. Like,
I just don't understand why people were all like selfish about like sharing stuff, because I'm one of those people like, if I help this person and I help them grow, they're becoming a better wrestler, so I have a better component and we're all growing together. If I continue helping you, you're probably going to pay it back to me. So I'm always one of those people. I've been like, oh, let me go give information. Even if you don't care or like want to listen to me, that's fine. I just want to show that I'm trying to help and I'm trying to let all of us grow together. I feel like wrestling is competitive, but you can be competitive and help people grow with you.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, and it's something that I'm discovering. And unfortunately, in podcasting, there are people who agree with that philosophy, and then there are people who don't. And
It's
obviously,
in everything because, like, me and Mouse have talked about with photography, there's like these people want to share their tips and like how to get better with it. And other people are like, no, this is my secret. This is how I do it, but I can't share it with anybody else.
I mean, I'm the first person to say this where I have certain secrets that I'm not willing to share, but there's other things in the interview, podcast, social media, and even in business and my eBay business that I'm more than happy to share. Where obviously we
Mhm.
all have a few secrets that we would like to keep to ourselves, but even still, like what I find is that certain people definitely pay it back and other people don't. And, I just systematically eliminate the people who are not good people in my life. So if I give you something you never pay it back to me, well, we're all just going to move on. But
Mhm.
enough about that and the negativity, because I do want to talk about another wrestler who I also got to interview, but I haven't interviewed her in a while and I'm probably going to hit her up again. And that's Shaza McKenzie, because this
Ooh.
one's interesting because I think this was supposed to happen a lot earlier. But for those who don't know, this little thing called COVID happened. And Australia, all jokes aside, was massively shut down. All my friends in Australia and comics and cosplay, and it was very, very, very rough for them. And they really all basically snuck back into their country. And Australia was a very, very rough shutdown. So, what was that like? Because she's now back in the States and she's now wrestling, and you got to wrestle her. And I don't know if this was the first time, but it might have been that you got to wrestle her a bunch of times. I think in Black Label Pro, Revolver, freelance, I think West Coast Pro. And so, what was this like? Because it is a different style and she's well known. And I don't think that would have happened 2 years ago, or it should have happened 2 years ago, technically.
Yeah. Um, it's very exciting when wrestling international talent, somebody who's been taught so a different way of wrestling. But being able to learn from Shaza and then also working with Shaza, I feel like we understand each other's brain. She's so willing to try and try and try, and so am I. So it's like we got so creative when we were with each other, but we had different minds for wrestling just because of where we came from.
Yeah, and even talking about this too, because obviously you wrestled her in Black Label Pro, Revolver, Freelance, West Coast Pro. That also is cool too, because this rivalry just wasn't in one area. It was in multiple areas and multiple promotions. And obviously, as much as, GCW has a very much a home base in a lot of ways. And a lot of those fans stay there. But Black Label
Mhm.
Pro, Revolver, Freelance Underground, and West Coast Pro do not have all the same fans. And so what was that like too? Even though I think a bunch of them are streamed or they're on
Mhm.
Fight. I'm not exactly sure if Revolver, I don't think Revolver's on IWTV. I think they're on Fight though, from my understanding, right? I could be completely wrong.
Revolver is on Fight, and then West Coast is on IWTV, and I think everything else is on IWTV. And then
Yeah,
Black
see, Black
Label
Label
just now
sometimes is on
switched to
Fight
Fight.
too, but yeah. I don't know everything, guys. I don't know everything, but what is that like? Because it also attracts a different fan as
Yeah.
well in attendance, and even when it's being streamed. And so
Mhm.
obviously the audience is getting bigger between this rivalry too, because they're all in different locations, and that also I think sometimes helps a rivalry in certain ways.
I feel like just being able to have matches streamed and me and Shaza putting on phenomenal matches with and without each other, we kept getting paired up everywhere because it's just this one video would spread and they're like, oh, I want to do this match too. And it would go and go and go. And I feel like the more and more people saw me and Shaza together, the more they got interested in it because we have such I feel like dynamic personalities that people are drawn to, like, oh, these people should go together.
Yeah, so let's even talk about what you just mentioned, which is fascinating. So I've been saying this a long time, and I was speaking to somebody who may or may not be the most recent addition to the, BBB, um, and that's AJ Alexander. And one of the things is that I feel wrestlers need to be seen on streaming services more than anything else, more than social media, more than being pre-taped, more than at live events. I feel like wrestlers need to be on shows that are being streamed, whether it's once a
Mhm,
week, once a month, every other week, whatever it is, and whatever you can get on. Because the second you get on a stream, you're reaching a boatload of people, whether live
mhm.
or on replay. People are tweeting about you, and there's engagement built in, and it's almost like you're on Monday Night Raw to some degree, or you're
Yes,
on Friday Night SmackDown, or you're on Impact, where it's television. And so, how do you feel about that? Because I think that's the game changer in wrestling right now, more than anything else.
I think that's honestly how independent wrestling has grown so much and has become so profitable. And it's just because you're getting so many more eyes on independent wrestling because we're streaming almost every single show and everybody has access to it, can gif it, retweet it, post it, do whatever they want with it, tag their wrestlers, and most likely the independent wrestlers are going to respond. So there's so much attention being spread upon independent wrestling.
And I'm also a big proponent where things have gotten massively cheaper, where
Yes.
IWTV is only $100 a year. I know
Mhm.
Fight is doing GCW for what, $5 a month or 50 for the year.
Yes.
I mean, you're looking at, and WWE Network on Peacock is $5 a month. So I
It's
mean,
not like
technically
having to pay for like a whole pay-per-view by
we're
itself
talking about $210 to get,
for
I would
every.
say, about 70% of the market, give or take, which is
Mhm,
ludicrous. That is ludicrous for $210 a year. And so what is that like for you? Because obviously you're on IWTV, you're do a lot of stuff for GCW, and that's a game changer where before, and I'm very honest with this, GCW pay-per-views at $14 a pop was expensive when they're putting on an event
yeah,
every, and nothing against their product, but that gets expensive very, very quickly. But now
I
at five
completely
bucks
agree.
to watch what I want to watch, and this is why I wasn't exactly team IWTV, but I'm like $100 here or $14 to watch all that stuff, and it's a good product and it's enjoyable. But now
Mhm,
I can watch both relatively cheaply. I mean, I just bought a
mhm,
video game for $100. So for me to spend $60 on wrestling for a year is like nothing compared
mhm,
to for entertainment. I mean, I spend $80 on anime every year.
mhm,
So what is that like for you though? Because that $5 or that $50 or $60 a year, however it's calculated, is going to get everybody on that platform seeing a hell of a lot more.
that means, like, my name is going to spread more, and I'm going to grow in popularity, hopefully, if people enjoy watching my matches. But I feel like just having more connection with fans has honestly what m what has made me as big of a star as quickly as I have. And I'm thankful for everything and how the internet is growing. I am thankful for it because it means, one, I'm growing with so many more other people. I've said this so much. And just being able to like be connected, being able to connect with people is the easiest way of like promoting and being able to wrestle.
Yeah, no, I just think that when wrestlers get on streaming platforms and what GCW and Fight are doing, and then with IWTV, it's just gonna massively expand it. And I think every wrestler's name who is either on, shows like Beyond or Uncharted Territory or what GCW does, their name goes up. And let's be realistic. I mean, the way I view it is Beyond, Uncharted Territory, and there's a few other promotions, obviously BLP, I think St. Louis Anarchy is another one
Mhm,
where if WWE and AEW say we don't work from there and we don't look at that freelance, they watch all that stuff. Somebody in WWE has a subscription to IWTV. I guarantee you their scouts are watching IWTV. They're not
And
tweeting
I
about it.
believe that. I didn't believe that for the longest time until I was listening to how my friends got signed. And I was like, they were like, "Oh yeah, so and so just watched this entire weekend of shows and they reported me back." And then more people watch your matches and then now you're having a tryout. I was like, this is crazy to me that
The only
people's whole
reason
jobs are just to watch wrestling and be like,
the only
"Okay, this
reason why
person's good."
yeah. The only reason why I know that is that you look at Anthony Green, Josh Briggs, you look at, a few others, what was it? Carmelo, wow, Christian Casanova is his name. Is
Mhm.
Alec Price, I think, just had a tryout at WWE a little while ago.
And,
That
like,
wasn't.
Elena Black, she was doing, like, freelances and Black labels and got picked up, and now she's going by Cora Jade, and she's doing crazy things in NXT right now.
I mean, what was it? Roxy too.
Yeah,
Roxy was down there, and then it's not an accident that all these people are there, and it's
there's
trippy and
people
it's weird.
watching.
And I mean, Kurt Stallion was there, Anthony Green was there for a while, and the only reason why I know this is that New England was a breeding ground, and
Mhm.
you don't think that they didn't discover these people from that? Of course they did. I mean, it's too coincidental that a bunch of people got picked up. NJF, AEW, I mean, Beyond made MJF. There's no question about that. And you don't think that Tony Khan and whoever was scouting in AEW wasn't looking at that? I guarantee you Cody Rhodes was watching MJF for a while. I guarantee it because Cody Rhodes picked MJF. It's not that hard to figure that one out either. But I digress right there. I digress. I have my theories. I have my theories on how all this works. I think a monkey, it has like a bunch of darts and they just have a name and the monkey's just throwing the darts and then miraculously it works. No,
I
that's
wish
a
it was like
terrible,
that.
terrible joke. But I do want to talk about uncharted territory though as well because that was this year too, and I only caught part of uncharted territory, but you had a very interesting rivalry with four individuals: Kenzie
Ooh,
Page, Nick Iggy, which I love. Nick Iggy. Nick Iggy is like the funniest person in wrestling.
I
Um,
grew up watching Nick Iggy matches, and now I'm in the ring with him.
yeah, well, when you say you grew up, your growing up is a little bit different than my growing up because you're a lot younger than I think people realize. So it sounds like you're making
I'm an
yourself
old
sound a lot
lady at
older when you
heart.
say that. Terribly older when you say that. So, oh man, there's so many jokes I can make. But I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. The times I wish I had a commercial break in my show is right now. But Dylan McQueen was in there, and then Hunter Drake was in there too. And this was interesting, where this rivalry was pretty interesting. I think Billy Tipton was with you, and it was Bills Getting Paid, which is an absolutely brilliant tag team name.
We
It's
came up with it that day that we debuted.
So what was this like? Because this was almost, I think, every appearance was some form of this rivalry between these four and you, Billy Tipton, and it was good. It was enjoyable.
It felt like a wrestling summer camp, where you get paired with like the same group and you guys just gotta figure it out. And it was like so fun to just have a regular person to fight. And the opponents we wrestled um, just are crazy individuals. I love them all. And being able to see them every week and have that consistency of like, oh, I know what this person does, and then something changing and you being able to change with it.
Yeah, and then obviously uncharted territory was interesting because it was obviously down south, which entered a lot of new blood, I feel. Where some of the old blood from up north was still around. And then
But
obviously
I feel like it helped grow Southern wrestling so much because it was showing so much of that talent down there.
yeah, and again, I didn't catch all of it, but I caught a bunch of episodes here and there, and I thought that it was interesting because obviously you had AC Mack, you had Ashton Starr, you had Jaden Newman down there, and then you had people like Alec Price came down which was cool, which I thought was nice because you got a lot of matchups that did not, wouldn't have happened when it was up north.
Agreed.
But also I think it was a little bit of a culture shock where I'm very honest, where I think the biggest mistake they made was moving it to Monday from Thursday. I think that was the biggest mistake they made.
Yeah, it was very weird. I agree with that, and I'm one of those people. I feel like it worked easier for like the wrestlers, but I was like, for fan wise, I was like, I doubt more people are gonna come to this.
There's a theory, and it's a Kickstarter theory where when you have a Kickstarter and you set your goal to raise money, if you
Mhm.
set your goal at 4,500, your fans then get accustomed to that number. And so when you change that number on the same series, it freaks out your fans because you
Yeah,
have bred them and you have built them and you have said, hey, this is our consistency. So if your number is 750, you should not change your number. Now you could lower your number, but you shouldn't raise it. And that's what I
mhm,
think happens with Uncharted Territory is you move it from Thursday to Monday. I'm accustomed to Thursday. I'm accustomed to it being my end of the week. I pour myself, like a beer, and now it's Monday, and now you change the culture on me
yeah.
significantly. And that's
You
where I
took
think,
away what I like.
yeah, and I think that was the biggest mistake that was made with Uncharted Territory. I really do in the South. I really do. And I think that, obviously now, if they come back for a season 5, I think the culture will be on a Monday. But I think that was my biggest pet peeve is I'm like, oh, this is kind of feels weird, on a Monday.
Yeah. It's like wrestling on Mondays, independent wrestling. This feels wrong, guys. This is not right.
Yeah, it was. It's just a pet peeve of mine, and I'm sure that that is not something new. And if that is new, and you're hearing about this, and they want to have a gripe with me, that's perfectly fine. My DMs are open for a reason. I am more than happy to have that discussion with anybody and everybody. But even talking about sort of being down in the South a little bit, you and Masha Slamovich also had some crazy matches. So I think Revolver's in Ohio, from my understanding, right? so
It's
Revolver's the
done
opposite.
Ohio and Iowa. They've done Ohio and Iowa.
So obviously, Revolver is in the Midwest,
Hmm.
but I think Scenic, the Invitational, is pretty much in the South.
Yes.
And so I know you had a match with Masha and Revolver, but the match that was crazier was the round 2 match of the Scenic Invitational. And so what was that like? Because Masha Slamovich is damn good
Oh,
and
she's
damn scary.
insane. She's insane. I love her as a wrestler because she commits to everything and just murders everybody. And she has a genuine love for wrestling, but when she goes out to the ring, it's going to be a battle, it's going to be a fight, and her mindset doesn't switch from that. She's always like, when it's go time, and this is who I am. And when I wrestled her, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And she completely was there for it. And she committed to everything she was going to do. I was going to break my back that night, whether it was my choice or not.
So let's even talk about that because obviously Masha is, I think, still signed to Impact. She does a lot of work for H2O, and she's all over the place. And there's a million. I think she does stuff for Beyond / Wrestling Open as well. And I can just keep naming, companies that she works for. But she's in all
Shout out
these.
her working PWG.
See, I don't know everything where she's working, but apparently she's all over the place and it's crazy. And so, what is this like for you? Because all of a sudden, you're coming up and you're getting a lot of opportunities against a lot of wrestlers. You wrestled Ruby Soho, Jessica / Jessica Havoc, and I think Jessica is still with Impact. Ruby is, I think, with AEW still. And so, what is this like for you? Because you didn't just get thrown into that match. And I say that, and I don't mean to be offensive, but you worked your ass off to be in there. And these are top stars. And you're being put in there because you're trusted. You've been doing this a while. And then you're having these matches with talent that has signed deals and is on television and is on major, wrestling, I guess, companies and promotions. And now when you get into those positions, obviously you get noticed, but you're trusted.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that I don't know exactly how wrestling and independent bookings work with AEW and Impact and who has to say what and how it all does. But these promoters also have to understand that you can't put Masha in a squash match, for lack of a better word. It has to
Yes.
be a good product that you're putting her in. And so what is that like for you? Because you're getting noticed by association, and then that expands your brand, but you're trusted to be in that position. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, I get what you're saying. Um,
Hopefully my audience is following, and it's a little confusing. I'm trying to not dive too deep into it. Like,
um, but I feel like what you're trying to explain is like what I get your crazy brain because I have a crazy brain. Um, is like when these women are coming and wrestling me, it's because I've worked so hard for every opportunity and people have took chances on me and every chance that I've taken has paid off. So I'm becoming more trusted and more trusted throughout wrestling. And having the opportunities to wrestle those women came from me working hard and them seeing my hard work and putting in a word for me and saying, okay, she's good. And then me showing that I'm good has brought me up so many so many levels so quickly.
yeah, and I think not to put this into a different way, but even when you're wrestling people from AEW and
Mhm,
Impact, and even people who just got out of WWE and are back on the Indies, in a lot of ways, when you're wrestling this talent that's still in those promotions, it is somewhat of a showcase for you. It's showing that hey, I can handle and hang with Ruby, I can handle Jessica, I could hang with Masha, and those companies do look at this. And so then you're getting on their radar. And it's very important, I think. And I think some wrestlers get it and some don't. That anytime you could be in the ring with a celebrity or somebody who's been around the block a lot, it obviously gets you noticed and it gets you on either their current employer or their former employer. And, this is how people get discovered. We were
mhm,
joking before about this, but Cora Jade is a great example that she was wrestling a lot of people and well, she was noticed that way. And then all of a sudden, if she was, in Impact, for lack of a better word, and she came down to a Revolver show, people from Impact are definitely going to be paying attention to some degree. And
yeah,
so I think that's something that I think you get very well. And I think certain wrestlers get it too, but I think other wrestlers don't get it at all.
and I feel like some will learn it and some won't, but I feel like I have one of those brains where I was able to get all of that information so quickly, while other people haven't gotten this information or aren't understanding it.
It's a business problem versus a wrestling problem, I think.
Mhm.
My entire podcast is built on interviewing people. So I understand it's going to sound really messed up the way I'm going to say it. I understand that certain people carry weight in circles. And so when I interview somebody, it carries weight and it opens up another door and it makes me more credible. And there's been plenty of interviews that I have gotten because of who I've interviewed. And, it carries, I guess, credibility and clout. And so I think that's something that also is in play here to some degree. But I don't want to dive too much into it before I get you and me both in trouble because I could do that by myself plenty. but even to go further into this too, because you were in an X division match too, and that was crazy. And yeah, that was a 7-way like scramble X division match, and everybody was in that match apparently. So
Yeah, it was insane. It was like Gringo and Speedball, me, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm about to die because all of these athletic men are gonna be jumping around me, and I'm just throwing kicks and trying to toss them around, and they're just jumping around me, and I'm like, "Oh my god."
well, I mean, you did pretty much bring Jake something to the max a while back, so that was a crazy match. I'm not gonna lie, everybody thought you were gonna be one and done, and everybody thought like this match is going to be just a complete like 3 seconds. And boy, that was a great match.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's crazy how, like, that happened because everybody going into it was like, "Oh, it's not gonna last that long, not gonna last that long." And I showed up and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make this work." And just the story we got to tell, and I was like, "Oh, I get to beat up the big guy." I felt like Rey Mysterio for the night. I was like, "I'm killing this."
So I'm going to ask you a question, and it's slightly dealing with Jake something. Can you name another big guy in wrestling on the indie scene who moves like Jake something right now? Because I don't think there's one.
I don't know. The only person I could think of is, like, maybe Calvin Tankman,
Yeah,
but
that's the one,
it's
right?
still, like, yeah. I was like, "But they still move differently."
So Jake something like Calvin Tinkerman is the only guy and the only big man in wrestling who can move like Jake something. I feel right now who's not signed. I think, and it's amazing that Calvin Tinkerman is not signed because it's crazy to me that he moves the way Jake something moves. Where Jake something should not move the way he moves. Calvin Tinkerman should not move the way he moves at all.
And it's crazy that they can. I've seen Calvin Tankman do shooting stars and, like, crazy things, and everybody, when they see it, are like, "How is this even possible?"
The only other person I could think of is O'Shea Edwards. Because O'Shea does not look like he can do what he can do, and he when he does a shooting star press, it's like, oh shit, it's amazing, it's amazing. Like
I get terrified though. Me being a small person and seeing that come towards me, I'm like, "Okay, this is where I die."
it's crazy, but yeah, no, because I love that match. That's like my favorite match of yours. Is you and Jake something because it was unexpected and it was brilliant, and it's a really big guy versus a small woman, and it was so competitive. And I say that in the nicest way I possibly can say because I know somebody's going to take that out of context. I know. I've
You're like,
given
"I
some
gotta
real
protect myself."
I know I just gave ammunition to somebody. I just know it. But anyway, I do want to talk about another person you wrestled, and that's Deonna Purrazzo. And that was GCW as well as Revolver for the AAA Reina Day. I'm not even going to try. I gave up on that
You're like,
title.
"I'm not gonna do it wrong." Um, I was doing like a series of matches with Deanna for a while, and we had like 3 matches. And every single time I was like, "Oh, I think I can win. I think I can win." And even on like the last one, I was like, "Oh, it was this close." And it was like the story has literally built over promotions that aren't even connected to like together. They were doing completely different things with me, but me and Deanna have literally every time we've passed have built our own story within that.
Yeah, and what is that like? Because WWE just dropped the ball with her. I think Impact picked it up really nicely. I think every promotion she's been in, she's done really well with, and she's just another one that's just like killing it right now. And the matches that the two of you have put on are just fantastic. And I know the GCW one very well, and I know the Revolver one as well, more than the others, to be very honest. But they were
Mhm.
pretty solid matches and they were pretty entertaining. And you could tell that there was really good wrestling in there, if that makes any sense.
No, I get what you're saying, but I feel like for Deanna, it's literally she's a phenomenal wrestler, and I think she can literally work in any scenario. It's just people not clicking with her, and I was like, I don't understand why WWE would not want this phenomenal wrestler who's doing great character work is showing that she can lead anybody through a good match. And I was like, so I think when she just leaves and goes other places, she's going to grow and grow and grow as long as people continue wanting to give her opportunities.
Yeah, I just think WWE had no idea what to do with people. I mean, look at the talent that WWE has released.
Hmm.
It's an issue where why would you release Anthony Green from WWE? That is the stupidest idea ever. People say Jimmy Jacobs from WWE was a bad idea. Jimmy Jacobs, as much as I love Jimmy Jacobs, and that was a bad idea too, because that guy is so smart in wrestling. Anthony Green is just as smart as a wrestling guy and just knows so much information. And from a producer level, Anthony Green would have done wonders for WWE. And as a wrestler, he was great too. But I don't get it. And I like WWE too. I like them as a company. I think they're a great product. I think they're an entertainment company, and I think they're one of the best in the world. I've said this before. WWE is Disney. That's what they are. For wrestling. That's exactly what they are. They don't sell wrestling. They sell a dream. They sell a bunch of different products and a bunch of different licenses and a bunch of different storylines that are bigger than life. But I don't really get why the talent that has come in and out of WWE in the last 5 years has been arguably the best talent in the world out of everything in the world. And
Hmm.
it's mind boggling to me. But again, I'm not running that company. And maybe if I was an executive in that company, I would know why. But I am not
Hmm.
currently. That doesn't mean I won't be, just not today. Um,
We don't have this information yet, guys.
but don't worry, guys. We'll get it. We'll get it for you in 20 years. But I do want to talk about actually your title runs this year because that's the other thing that's crazy. Where you've gotten a bunch of belts and a bunch of stuff, and there's been a bunch of cool matches also that you've done singly. And I want to talk about those two because you face Trish Adora, and she is damn good. She's terrifying good. And she's another one that is, I feel, overlooked tremendously. And so, what was that like facing her?
It was a very fun experience because I don't feel like I get to wrestle anybody with Trisha's style very often. Just her, like, she has such a distinct, like, wrestling style, and when you watch her wrestle, it's so entertaining because it's so unique. And I love what she's created for herself. And when I'm wrestling her, I feel like it challenges me because it's so different. Um, for anything that I'm used to. Uh, so just being able to see her and I look at what she's doing, I was like, I would love to learn more about the style she's doing so I can adapt it and steal it to make it better for me.
Yeah, no, I think she's fantastic. I saw her win a belt. I forget the name of the belt, but it was great. It was like it was a crazy show. It was insane and like it's great. And then everybody just came up to the edge of the ring and just started like smacking the ring down when she won, and it was fantastic. And all these people were at this show. It was great. But it was in DC, it was like it was the weirdest show I've ever been to because it was like in an art center, and I'm like, this is like
Oh,
it was like in this like art
I feel
center.
like wrestling chooses the weirdest venue sometimes for wrestling. I'm like, why are we in this crazy ballroom right now? Or, oh, we're in the back of like a skate rink. Cool, guys.
It was fantastic. There was like some weird art on the walls, and I'm like, this is so weird, but so cool. And apparently Nyla Rose was at that show too, just as a fan. It was like a weird show, and it was amazing. Um, but enough about that show. I don't want to get anybody else in trouble here. Um, but then you also faced Kimberly and Beyond, and that's kind of like a legend, woman to wrestle on the Indies. And Kimberly is Kimberly, and I love Kimberly and everything that Kimberly does. So,
I
so
think she is such a great women's wrestler, and she shared a lot of information with me very early on to make me a better wrestler. And being able to be in the ring with her, um, it was very, very fun. And I feel like it should have happened way earlier than what it did. Um, but finally getting the chance to do it at Beyond was a very fun experience for me. And also because I waited so long to be part of Beyond, I was like, this is one of my hopes. This is one of my hopes. And I was like, I keep pushing and pushing. And it's hard because of my age. And I understand people get wary of that. And I'm like, come on, guys. I know how to do this. You got to give me a chance. You got to give me a chance.
let's even talk about that too, because I think I can say this, right? I mean, you're 17.
Hmm.
Um, and then I think I interviewed you what like 3 years ago when you were what like 14, 15.
Yeah.
So, obviously, and look, I don't know everything about wrestling, so I don't know how old you need to be. I don't know how licensing works, where you need a license to wrestle. I think
Mhm.
in most areas, if not all of them, and then certain promotions may or may not want somebody who is not, 16 or older, or even 18 and older, for a lot of reasons. I mean, it creates problems, trust issues, safety issues, reliability issues, 15 other things I can't think of off the top of my head. And I know that you're turning 18 relatively soon. So what is that like? Because I think the world's about to open up for you in a lot of ways, and a lot of problems that occur when somebody is 17 in wrestling do not happen when they're 18 in wrestling. If correct me if I'm wrong at any point.
Um, I feel like it will definitely help my wrestling because I will finally be able to go to so many different states. Because for the longest time, it was like even I couldn't wrestle in any of these promotions because they run in certain states, and to get s- the license, I would have to be 18. And I was like, so this shut down so many opportunities for me that I just can't control because of something I never got a choice over. And it's like, oh, this sucks, but I'll deal with this because I just gotta wait. And then with other people, it was like, okay, how can I convince them and make people comfortable with this? Because a lot of the things were like, oh, I'm uncomfortable with her being in this environment. Who's gonna watch her? Who's gonna do this? And I was like, okay, let me make people comfortable. And my parents agreed it'd be safer for me to always have a person there. So one of my parents had always gone with me. It made everybody like, oh, okay, she's taken care of. I don't have to worry about a child. And it was like once people started getting to know me, they're like, oh, you're very mature. Okay, you understand what you're doing. I don't have to worry about her. And it was like I just had to give people that time to learn who I am and like, okay, I promise I'm gonna be okay. Here's my parent. I'm still on insurance. I know how a hospital works and I know how to get to a hotel.
Because I think this is one of the things that people don't realize when they see you and that they watch you wrestle is that, I'll be very honest, you look a lot more mature than you are. Your age says. No offense. Like, I'm trying to be so nice when I say this in so many ways
You
and
look
not be so
old.
like an
Got
asshole
it.
when I say this, because I know exactly how this sounds terribly. Because it's the second I just said it, I'd be like, man, I sound like an asshole. And I just said that so bad. But you definitely seem more mature than your age suggests, and that's something that I think people don't realize. And then they're like, "Oh shit, she's 17. How stupid good is she?" Like, it's one of those things where when I realized your age, I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, I was like, "This doesn't just happen that somebody's not this good at that age." And that's one of the things that I think people don't understand. And then even going into the wrestling stuff and all that stuff, obviously people are concerned. But even going back to your matches, one of the matches that I saw that was crazy was with John Wayne Murdoch. And that was a savage match. That was a match where the fans bring the weapons. And I enjoy deathmatch wrestling. I think it's fantastic. I think it's fun. I just watched Ron Mathis versus Bobby Beverly in a 60-man Iron Man death match at H2O, and that was crazy. And there was a lot of things in that match that was wild. But what was this match like? Because this was one of those things that, it's a pretty interesting match to say the least. And I think this was your first fans bring the weapons match.
I believe so. And it's definitely a different experience for me because it's something I don't do very often versus John Wayne Murdoch, who has done this for many, many years and understands it. Um,
He's Mr. Deathmatch.
yes. And it definitely opened up a new world for wrestling for me. And I have parts of it that I love and parts of it I hate. I'm like, I don't think the avenue for me right now or my mindset right now is what I want to do is deathmatch wrestling or hardcore wrestling, but it's something I will keep in my back pocket to use for later.
So let me ask this, because what I like about deathmatch wrestling is not. I mean, I like the light tube fights. I think those are just funny. I thoroughly enjoy when everybody has a light tube and there's 9 people in the ring and they're all just smashing it on each other and nobody goes down. I think that's just, I think it's so ridiculous and I think it's so comic book oriented that like I can't be like, yes, finally, we've gotten to the point where in normal society and in normal life this would kill you, and I love it because it's just so comic book and it suspends belief for me, which is why I read comic books and anime and a bunch of other stuff. But what I really thoroughly enjoy about deathmatch is when you're selling it and you're telling a story, and it's the idea that you have somebody who just went through a table and then they're being pinned and they're like grasping at the last second, and that to me, or they've gone through like a light tube tray, and it's that almost, do you want to quit? And it's no. And that's like the story part that I really like because I feel like you've intensified the story where you've now added something that seems painful that normally would say, I don't want to do this anymore. And the people want to continue. I don't know if
It
that makes
just
any
shows
sense.
how
Again,
much of a fighter they are.
and so it's very interesting because I feel like we're turning up, a bunch of elements in a story. And that's what I enjoy about deathmatch wrestling and fans bring the weapons and versus even just a tables match or a steel cage match. Like you don't get
It
that.
just feels like the intensity is so increased that it's like it just reacts so strongly to people when they see it.
And so I thoroughly enjoy that. And I think it's just great. And that's John Wayne Murdoch. So obviously, I mean, the guy is just fantastic as a wrestler. So, and
And he's a
great at what
great
he
funny dad.
does. So, yes. He's just great in it. I love him in, ICW, no holds bar. But talking about hardcore wrestling, and this is not a hardcore match, but the H2O hybrid title. You won that
Yes.
one this year too, and you had a few matches. So, what was that like? Because that's kind of crazy too. Because I think that was in Jersey, right?
Yeah, it was in New Jersey and it was very shocking for me because I was like, I'm just wrestling and I had no expectations of winning a title that weekend and it kind of just happened. I was like, oh crap, I have a title now. This is kind of cool. And I immediately was like, I'm gonna go take pictures with it. And then I lost it the next day to Reed Walker, who's an amazing talent from H2O and should be so many more places. He's freak of an athlete. I am nowhere as athletic as he is.
So, what was even that like? Because obviously, I mean, this is the hybrid title. It's H2O at Tremont's promotion, and obviously, what was it even like just to wrestle in H2O? Because H2O, I feel, is sort of the promotion in Jersey that everybody knows. I think it's well respected and they put on a hell of a show every Monday now. So, what was that like to even just be involved with them, wrestling in that building, and having your title for maybe 26 hours, to say the least?
Uh, it was definitely a little chaotic, but I felt like H2O for me has been like I'm the new kid coming in, and all of the old kids were like, and I feel like they slowly accepted me as family, but it's like, oh, family has to fight, and it's been such a great experience there. Um, but it's like when I'm with all of these other guys, it's like, oh, you're not even from here. Come on, dude. And I'm like, I'm still gonna wrestle you guys. Come on, we gotta go do this, and this. And it's just such a fun environment to be around. Um, and I love it. And the fans in Jersey, I feel like are so crazy sometimes. That's one of my favorite like crowds to wrestle in front of is New Jersey crowds because their energy is almost unmatched. Like it can get there like other places, but for some reason, whenever I'm in front of a New Jersey audience, they know how to just push my buttons the right way, and I get so excited.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love H2O. Tomorrow I'm having Jess Moss on, and then next week I'm having Declan Grant back on. And so I love H2O, and I'm aiming for one person either to really start season 4 of this show. And I got no problem saying who it is. I'm aiming for Matt Tremont because I think that is the best person to start season 4 of this show in January. But I digress. I have to ask him. But I think he'll say yes. He seems like the one guy who would say yes if I ask correctly. Him
He's
or
a
Kennedy
teddy
Copeland.
bear.
Him or Kennedy Copeland should start the show for the season because we can only go downhill from there. But even to talk
Gotta
about
start at the
more
highest
stuff,
point.
we did it last year. I legitimately started at the highest point, and then about 45 minutes later, we went straight down. We went straight down immediately, not because the injury was bad. We just went right into the gutter, and it was great. It was. So we're right here, guys. We're right here, and we went right down, and like nothing, no elevator, no like Advil. It was just a straight vertical drop right down. It's great. I think it was on my birthday too. It was like the greatest thing I've ever done. It was amazing. And it was two fantastic injuries that were the complete opposite. But I digress. I digress for everybody. Because I do want to talk about another title you have, and I still think you have it, and it's the second wrestling title. And I know Eric Cannon was in there. I think Riley Jackson was in there. And then I think he defended it against another prisoner on this show, Rashay Chanel. And I love her. I love her. She just makes me laugh in so many ways. And she's great in so many ways too. And so what was this like? Because I still think you have that title, right? Unless you dropped it. I don't know.
No, I still have that title, and it's been definitely an interesting experience for me because it's one of the titles I've gotten to defend so many times and hold for a long time. And being able to wrestle people like for WrestleMania weekend, I wrestled Rochelle, and it was so much fun. And it was a different style match than I would have ever expected. And I am one of those people, I don't let people touch my hair, even if you're going to do it nice. Or like, I kind of like my high ponytail, leave me alone. And she was like, let me brush it out. Da, da, da. I was like, please leave me alone, woman. I don't let my mother do this. I ain't letting you do this.
See, I think she's great. I think what she was doing on AEW Dark was hilarious. And I
Yes.
think I was like a Mission Pro is great. And I love the entire gimmick. I love the concept. And I just think it's funny. I think when she brushes somebody's hair in the middle of a match and then she like does like opens up her makeup bag, I just think it's hilarious. I think it's just so out of like traditional wrestling, but I still think it's fair game. If that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Like I don't know how to explain it.
She balances her character in wrestling perfectly.
And it's just fantastic. It's just fantastic. And obviously I enjoyed that match too in a lot of ways because I just thought it was funny. I just thought it was funny, and I still think it's funny. So that's how I view it. But again, my brain is all wacky. But what I enjoy wrestling, other people do not. And then I do want to talk about Mouse's wrestling adventures. Because why wouldn't we talk about Mouse and this entire thing? I enjoy the way Mouse hazes new recruits. Supposedly, you have to give up your parking spot, is what I heard. I neither can confirm nor deny, nor will I spill my journalistic research on that topic. I just will say that maybe him and Effie, who disclosed rode in a car at a mall that may or may not have an amusement park in it. But no, I haven't mentioned names, so we're okay. We're okay. You could find maybe the person was on my show. I don't know. But if you would like to join the this is like the worst commercial for you guys ever.
This was like the
Clearly.
longest bit, and I loved it. And I was like, okay, let's see how long he keeps it going.
I'm just saying that everybody's gone through this, and you get a spot close to the venue, and Mouse shows up late. You're gonna have to move your
It
car.
said moves.
I'm out of steam on this bit. I'm clearly out of steam. This is like my TikTok reel right here. But that's pretty much everything I know about this. But again, I will not disclose my sources. All I know is that there's an A and a J in the name, and that's all I have. And you all can do your own research from here on out. But if you'd like to join, make sure you show up early so Mouse gets a spot close to the door.
You gotta do everything for Mouse so he's not grumpy that day.
But in all seriousness, you did get to face Alec Price, and Alec Price is a busta genius. It's just terrible, so terrible. Clearly, this is my best work today. But no, in all seriousness, though, you did get to face Alec Price, and that kid is a genius in so many ways, and is very much, I feel, similar to you, similar to Marcus, and a few others in wrestling right now, where Alec Price is everything right with wrestling.
I completely agree. He's such a phenomenal wrestler, and I enjoy having so many matches with him. Because the first time we wrestled, it was a growing experience for both of us, and then we met again, and it met again. And I was like, he's definitely became one of my close friends, but one of the people I will continue beating up all the time.
I always say it every Thursday. I probably said this about 100 times. I said, we all boo Alec Price when he was very much a heel in Uncharted Territory and Limitless. And I said, the day he gets signed, we are all going to be sad. And I was joking with Tyree.
Because we never want to see people leave.
It's it's the idea that we all boo him. And I said, we're all going to miss him when he gets signed. Because that's just the way it is. And clearly people in New England and in Wrestling Open, they love him. And people in Limitless love him because he is the replacement for people like AG and Christian Casanova and a variety of others. And he is like the last one to leave New England. And when he does, he's going to be the last of a generation that has come up. And it's going to be a very sad day in wrestling. It's going to be a very sad day, and it's going to be a very historical day as well.
I hope somebody comes to replace him soon, not later, because he has a whole legacy there. But I hope that opportunity opens up for somebody new to grow and take that position.
I don't know who. I really don't. And it's just one of those things where I think he is very much like the four pillars in St. Louis, right? I think he is the last pillar in so many ways and in beyond in that area. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what happens when that pillar leaves. I don't. And it's a great wrestling question. And again, though, it's not. As a fan, I don't know the answer. And as somebody who obviously does a podcast and interviews people, it's something that I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm going to be happy when he gets signed. I'm looking forward to him being signed. And I hope it happens a lot sooner. I hope it happens January 1st. I really do. Where I really hope he goes to WWE because I think he'll only get better in WWE. I don't think he should go to AEW or Impact. I don't. I think he will be molded into a fantastic wrestler. I think he's a great wrestler. He will become a fantastic wrestler if he goes to the Performance Center. And that's just me understanding this business. That's the only insightful thing I've said all night, by the way, everybody. Everything else has just been well known, just articulated somewhat good. Especially the part about Mouse's parking spot.
That's my father. He's something else.
See, I figured I could say it because it's not untrue. I
wish it was sometimes. I was like, oh my God, my dad's a bully.
I thought it was the funniest thing when he said it on my podcast. AJ Alexander said it on my podcast. He was explaining like the initiation. I thought it was the funniest thing that was ever spoken about, and it was absolutely fantastic. And it's pretty funny. I mean, and the fact that at first I didn't realize that it was probably true, and then about like 5 minutes in when he was explaining, I'm like, this probably actually really did happen.
No, this is real.
Which made it even funnier in so many ways. It's just terrible. It's terrible. But enough about that. Because I do want to talk about three other things, sort of. Maybe two. Because we did speak about 17 versus 18. But here's a pretty big thing going on with you that we spoke about, I think, the first interview where you wanted to go to Japan, and that's coming. But before we get to Japan, we have to go through Slamilton. And so I believe that is your last American match. I mean, I don't think you're moving to Japan. I don't want to get anybody freaked out. You're going to be spending a short time in Japan, but this is your last American match before you go over to Japan. And Slamilton is what, like in a week and a half or 2 weeks, or is it
It's
this
this
weekend or the weekend
weekend.
after?
It's
When is it?
this weekend. Saturday this weekend.
So I want everybody to understand that it's not Hamilton, it's Slamilton, and we're not going to go shoot Burr or Hamilton. It does not cost $10 to enter, but that would be really funny if it did. But if you would like to go to Hamilton, that's in New Jersey. So if you're just closer to Jersey and you want to go that route, be my guest. But you can watch it on IWTV. But who are you facing at Slamilton?
Zoe Lucas, who is a first-time competitor for me. I've never been in the ring with her, so it's definitely a new experience that I'm excited to do before my big trip. And I just have so much excitement towards this match because it's just I feel like it's the start or like the end of this chapter and then the start of the next. And I just want to end the chapter on a bang.
Yeah, and then what time is that anyway? Because we might as well give some of it's BLP, right?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'm not that done yet. I thought it was BLP. It's been a while since I've watched BLP fully. So it's
They
Black
have
Label.
long shows, but I feel like their shows are a good product. It's just hard to spend that much time with wrestling sometimes. Because, like, me, even as a wrestler, I am like, I don't have enough time in my day to watch all this wrestling.
Oh man, I got no time in my day. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy. Like that's the thing about Wrestling Open that I love. It's 2 hours. It's 2 hours. I could spend 2 hours. I pour myself something on Thursday nights after my long 12-hour day, and I legitimately clock out, and then I may or may not fall asleep slightly intoxicated, and I get a good 9 hours. So hey, when you're dealing with what I'm dealing with at my job, and I like my job is frustrating. Not because of me. I'm the frustrating solving person. It's just that, oh, I don't want to talk about it. I, I'm solving problems that make people's lives better, but I wouldn't have a job if there wasn't a problem that needed to be solved. And that's why I have a job. But just the greatest thing I could do is watch wrestling, and it's 10 minutes. And if a match sucks, it's only 10 minutes. That's what I love about Wrestling Open right now is 10 minutes. If it sucks, I go to the bathroom and I just play like a game on my phone, and then it's over. But anyway, enough about that. Obviously, that's this weekend. But more importantly, what, in like 2.5 weeks, you're going to Japan. And you're going to Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. And you're challenging for a belt, the Princess of Princess Championship match. And it's going to be super interesting. And obviously, I might get her last name wrong. It's Yuka Sakazuki, I want to say, or Suzuki. Not exactly sure how to say her name completely. If I think I'm on the money somewhat, but
You're real good. Real good. It was just if you smooth it out, it was perfect. Sounded it
yeah,
out right.
this is called post editing now. But no. I actually have no idea how to say her name. I took a shot at it, everybody. But what is this like? Because it is a big deal, though, to go to Japan. It's something you want to do. Not every wrestler gets to go. I was speaking with Akira, and I don't think he has gone to Japan yet. And I know Masha went to Japan. And I know that I think Charlie Cruel went to Japan, I believe. Maybe Charlie Cruel didn't go to Japan. Now that I think about it,
I was like,
somebody
did she?
I know Delmi Exo went to Japan. I think she
Yeah.
went to Japan. I know that much. And then Ronnie Nicole pretty much lived in Japan for like 2.5 years. I think Ronnie Nicole is the longest American wrestler who has been in Japan almost continuously. that wasn't born there. So it's crazy. But what is that like for you? Because every great wrestler, including the Bushwhackers, who are on this show, because I love pushing that out. Crazy
Plug,
interview.
plug, plug.
How I pulled that off is a miracle. I have no idea how I pulled that off. But anyway, what is that like for you to get to go and have a championship match and really be involved in a Joshi, promotion? Because it is cool in a lot of ways, and it's a dream to some degree as well.
It's definitely been my dream. It's what I wanted for so, so long, and it's happening. And it was very unexpected for me because I was just scrolling through my email and I'm like, oh, wrestling's going good, but still got a ways to go. And I'm scrolling through my emails and I see this email from Toki Joshi Pro, and in my brain I'm like, oh, it's another fake email. Ha ha, funny. I was gonna screenshot it and put it on Twitter as a joke. And then I saw it and I was like, oh no, this is real. What is going on? What is my life? I had like, when you're like the teenage girl and it's like, oh, this thing happened. It's me going to my mom, oh, look at this wrestling thing that happened.
Yeah. So even to talk about that, I mean, obviously they sought you out. They wanted you to come to Tokyo, spend some time there, and yeah, what is that like? Because it's a very big deal. It's the end of one chapter and the beginning of a new one. And I think you're going to be 18 when you go, and so that's cool too. And so very much you're in a very cool crossroads at the moment where not to the sense that you can choose between going to AEW or WWE type of crossroads, but even the idea that you're going up to the next level in a certain way. I think is a really good way how to put it. To give an analogy, you are Pikachu and you are now about to become Raichu.
We're evolving. Woo!
I mean,
I
to put
love
it in
I
the
love the
nicest way
Pokemon
possible.
references. That was great.
No,
I was like, include the nerd bit. Love it.
this is gonna be like somebody's gonna take this and just put it on TikTok, and you're just gonna get a Raichu chant at like an event, and you're gonna be like, man, a lot of people just watch
Like,
this
how did
show.
we get here, guys?
But minus my analogy, the first thing that popped into my head, what is that like? Because it is an evolution, and you're going up to the next level, and that's how I view it. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I am thinking and looking at this from a different level, but you're going to come out of Japan very different than when you entered.
I'm so excited for it because it's like, here's the next big change, and that's completely where my mind has been. And I just feel like I'm prepared. I'm prepared, and if I'm not, it's gonna push me to be better. And it's a whole different world, and I was like, I can't wait. It's new adventures awaiting me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I don't know exactly how to watch it or even check it out because a bunch of people are going to want to see it. But I'm sure that whether I watch it live or it'll eventually get its way somehow on YouTube or wherever it is, it's going to be exciting. And even just the fact of knowing that you're there and this is not your only match, from my understanding.
I can't spoil anything. We're going to let things happen, but there's definitely going to be more for me in Japan that isn't already here.
And so how long are you in Japan? Just curiosity.
I will be there for 10 days.
Oh, it's a short trip. We're not losing you for that long.
Not that long. Long enough for me to miss enough school. Woo!
Well. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, you're a senior, right?
Yeah, but they don't like it. I don't need a truancy letter. I'm not trying to fight with people.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I missed 10 weeks of my senior year. So,
I still want to go to prom and stuff. Maybe if I'm not busy with like more important wrestling things. So I'm like, if this opportunity comes around, I'm gonna kind of need decent attendance because my school is like if you miss this many days, then you can't go to prom. And we're like, okay, what about if we're sick? Okay, this many unexcused days.
Well, all I know is I didn't go to prom, and I went to Dave and Buster's instead with all my friends, and then we got a birthday cake, but it was nobody's birthday, and we had a great time. And then we show up for graduation practice. Everybody's like, "Prom sucked," and I'm like, "Dave and Buster's was awesome."
Awesome.
Like, people just looked at me and at my friends. Oh, it was great. We had a fantastic time, and then I played a bunch of video games. I won like a prize that cost me way more than it should have in like tickets, and it was a fantastic night. All I'm gonna say, we saw a movie. It was great. I had a blast.
All
Prom's
that
overrated.
matters was you were having fun.
It was great. And I had a birthday cake, and it was nobody's birthday. Oh, it was fantastic. But I digress right there. And then the final thing I want to talk about outside of Japan, and obviously, it's going to be fun to see all that stuff and a lot of cool promotions out in Japan. And I can't wait for you to take the Tokyo Dome, 80,000 people headlining it. That's exactly what's going to happen, right?
It's just dreams that I feel like are out of reach at the moment, but it's something that can happen one day, and it's like we'll get there one day, guys.
Wait till this podcast headlines the Tokyo Dome. So it's coming. I'll have Joe Rogan on. I'll have Howard Stern on. We'll resurrect Larry King. It'll be great. So we're just gonna headline the Tokyo Dome. And I'll have Bushwhacker Luke on. It'll be fantastic. So you laugh now, but wait till it happens. You're gonna be like, you were there. You heard it here first.
I was the one who witnessed this man say this. It happened. I was shocked.
but I do want to also touch quickly and give you a chance to promote GCW on Fight. $5 a month, guys. $5. All the GCW events. There's, I think, 3 or 4 other wrestling promotions that's also included. And there's 2 options. They're not paying me to say this, but obviously I'm a customer. Pretty much, I think that there's 3 other wrestling promotions, maybe 4. And I believe it's all the events, or most of them at the very least. And you could sign up just $5 a month, or you could pay upfront for 12 months for $50 last time I checked. And it's pretty cool. And you can watch it on your computer or an iPad or another tablet. So keep that in mind, which is also
you get
very
access to so much more wrestling. So go check it out so you can literally do what you like, watch more wrestling.
I also think that it's not even wrestling. I think there's other things that are involved with it as well. I think there's some other sports stuff as well. I think there might be even some boxing. So it's not just wrestling. There's a lot of stuff that they have. And I don't know if it's also all at GCW's library too. I think it is, right?
From what I believe, it's all of their old pay-per-views that were on Fight, singles and that, and with some older stuff too that hasn't been uploaded.
Because I know that a bunch of wrestlers are saying, hey, go watch all my stuff. And I know Masha did stuff, and I know a few other people have as well. So, you could go watch pretty much all of Nick Gage's stuff. You can watch all of Masha's stuff. I know there's a bunch of stuff with you. And it's JCW as well, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So a lot of stuff is out there, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, and I think Effie's Big Gay Brunch is on there too.
Yes, and it's a phenomenal show.
There's been 5 of them. I don't remember it being around for 5 years though, or is it that there's like 2 now a year?
It's crazy because I feel like they happen so quickly, but it's so sporadic and like, oh, before the next gay brunch, it's so long. But every time it happens, it's such a great atmosphere when they do it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it, and I've only seen one of them, which is really bad on my part. So we're not going to tell Effie that. We're going to make him feel special.
He's gonna quote tweet you later. Go watch all of my events right now.
Yeah, probably. He oddly enough follows me on Twitter, which I don't know why anybody does that, but that's not the point here.
Go follow him on Twitter, guys.
No, Effie follows me on Twitter. You should go follow Effie. If you want a bunch of cute memes and anime stuff, that's my Twitter for you. and me getting really like just like I stub my toe and then I'll whine about it in 20 tweets. But I digress. But yeah, no, seriously, guys, if you want more wrestling, IWTV and Fight are really the place to go. It's $160 for both of them. Separately, they're not a joint company. It's not a combo package, but it really is pretty much with those two things. And then if you add Peacock in there, you're getting about 70% of the market for 210 is what it is. And again, I have no affiliations with any of these companies. So I just am a wrestling fan. And then if you want to get your anime in there, Crunchyroll, and that'll bring you up to 290. So less than
I love how
$300
you have the numbers saved. You're like, I'm ready.
for less than $300, you can occupy all of your time for the entire year. All on your computer, and your brain might go to rot, but I promise you it will be a fantastic experience. But enough about all of that. I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. I know that you got a lot of going on. I know that you're super busy, but where can people find you, bother you, get your t-shirts, buy the merch, do a bunch of other stuff, and everything else that you have?
If you want to check out any merchandise, you can go to bigstarksbrand.com. It's linked in my Twitter bio. All of my social media is at Billie Starkz, Billie, and then Starkz is Starkz. If you want to contact me about bookings, message me on social media, or you can hit my email called bookbillystarks@gmail.com. And if for any updates on any crazy things I'm doing in wrestling, I'm going to be posting it on social media. So just follow that stuff and you'll be seeing all the updates.
And I'm just going to keep saying it, and I've been saying it for a while. You have to support wrestling, you have to support wrestlers, and you have to support what you love, and you have to financially support what you love. So what that means is watching matches on YouTube, watching matches on IWTV, on Fight, watching GCW, going to shows, buying a ticket, going to see a wrestling show, because you're supporting the promotion and indirectly you're supporting the wrestler. If a wrestler has a t-shirt or they have a print or they have something, go and doing that. Obviously, Pro Wrestling Tees, that's a big deal. Buying a shirt, whether you're buying it in person or off of their website, because sometimes you can't make it to a show and it makes a difference. Sometimes people also run, stuff, you've run a few exclusive t-shirts as well. And so it's very important to actually support all of this and tweet about it and engage with wrestlers, because that is also just as important, because it tells people what they're doing right and tells them what they're not doing right per se, or if it's not catching fire is the nicer way how to put it. So that's something that I encourage everybody to do. And following somebody on Twitter, and if you're watching them in your bed on a Thursday night and tweeting at them, it doesn't cost you much. And hey, they might tweet back at you and have a conversation. So that's something to keep in mind. And it does go a long way. So I really do recommend people do that. Furthermore, about me, obviously all my social media is down below. It's Pop Anime Comics. I enjoy when people follow me on Twitter, engage with me on Twitter, have a discussion with me on Twitter. You could yell at me on Twitter if you so choose. I may or may not respond. There have been some very interesting fights on Twitter with people and me. Some of them I've won and some of them I've lost heavy. But I do like when people actually interact with me when I'm watching wrestling on Twitter. It's always a good time. Instagram, Pop Anime Comics, Facebook, Pop Anime Comics, YouTube is Pop Anime Comics. And I do have a t-shirt. It is a really cool t-shirt that I'm going to show really, really quickly. It's making fun of Gundam, Taco Bell, Fallout, and The Most Interesting Man in the World. It is available on Redbubble, so you could go check that out and enjoy it, and all sorts of fun stuff there. It's available in 16 different colors, guys, so you can pick your colors, and I think in like 14 different clothing items now, which is super cool. And so that's all my stuff, and I'm not going to push too hard on all that. I have a buy me a coffee if you want to buy me a coffee or whatnot, or if you want to buy ad space on this show, that's the way to go. But beyond that, that's all I have, and I'm going to give you the final word.
Thanks for having me, and then I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast.
And on that note, everybody, that is a wrap.